Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me on this theater tour of Brockstar Cinema. My name is John, and if you want to come with me, I'll show you my 9.4.6 setup, and I'll show you some of the features that I have in this detached building. So when you first come in, it kind of introduces you to like some theaters of some of the devices that you'll be able to experience once you're upstairs. And I do have a center one. This is going to be for my MadVR. So there is a missing one there that I still have to put on. Some things that I like to, when I'm hosting a group of people, is this is just some features. So my family has slippers out here that we like to use, but I even have like slipper socks for people, for guests that are coming over that are new. And it's just a way to make them feel at home. You know, when you go to that bed and breakfast and people have some things set up that are just nice for them. So I will buy new ones of these for people so they don't just have to be in their socks, especially in the winter months. Just little cozy things that I like to do when I'm hosting some people over here for the first time. So I'll show you more of that upstairs. As you make your way up, I do have a movie poster right at the top that cycles through different movies. And this is actually from a company here in Texas, down in San Antonio, called Digital Movie Boards. And they make that, send it right out of the box, plug it in, and it's ready to go. It's hooked up to my Wi-Fi, so it will bring up new movies that are on right now, and it just cycles through them as fast or as slow as you want to do. So I love it, and it's plug and play and very, very user-friendly. So the whole system is automated through the URC automation. You know, there's Control 4 and Crestron and Savant, but my installer went with the URC system. Which is actually an older automation system, but updates all the time, very user-friendly, easy to use, and it coincides with my remote that has the same icons, and you can, you know, put in your own customization with it, and it works great. And of course, all of that is hooked up to a Alexa that also works too, so everything is voice activated. So a little bit about the room so far. Like I said, this is a detached building, which is great. And when I initially bought the house, that's kind of what I was looking for, is I don't have to bother anyone and I don't have to be told to turn it down if I'm bothering the family, because it's detached. No one else hears it, and I can have a little bit more fun with my friends or just myself in here. It does have a bathroom and a shower. So actually I have this set up where you could actually treat this like a small term apartment if I have guests over here that's with a family, because I'll show you the couch that actually can make out into a hide-a-bed. There's actually a queen size bed in there, and they have a full-size bathroom. So that's kind of the setup in this, that you could, it has other features that it could use even though it is a dedicated theater. So there is a riser in the floor here that gives the opportunity to have 3 rows of seating. On this back row is bar stools, and these have 2 movable tables, and these are custom made out of a company in Canada called Backyard Resin. So Backyard Resin, what I did is I found on eBay a lot of these micro machines from the 80s and 90s of Star Wars characters, and then there's another card game that has Star Wars little miniatures. And what they did is they FaceTimed me and helped me set up all these different toys inside these tables. And then there's even one of a 3D printed Star Destroyer that I found on Etsy, and we kind of shaved that down. And you can even look this way and kind of give a 3D effect. So I love what they did. We have a Starfield scene with a battle between the Rebels and the Empire. And then I have a Hoth snow scene in half this table, and the other half is a pod racing scene. And there's snow speeders, and I have Slave One with Boba Fett up here. So they did a wonderful job with these, and this allows for a 3rd row, my back row, where you can eat and keep the messy stuff up here and not towards the theater seats, where it can get a little sketchy if you're eating spaghetti or pizza that I don't really want on my Valencia theater seats. So like I said, this is a 9.4.6 setup. All of the bed layer are Focal 1000s. What started my system out is I started with Sopra tower speakers, and the Sopra number 2s, when we were going with the other bed layer from my left and rights, was the most equivalent for that was going to be something that also had the beryllium tweeters, and that is the 1000 line of in-wall speakers. So these are all with the 9-point setup. It's going to have the rears, the surrounds, and the front wides, and also in the ceiling for the 0.6 are also from the Focal 1000 line for the 6 center speakers in the ceiling. For my subwoofers, I have the RTJ, which is from the JTR company, and their RTJ line of the 18-inch subwoofers. These are the same speakers that you would see in the Tower of Power, where they incorporate it with their center large horn system that you can stack 8 feet high. So I have 2 in the rear and 2 in the front that make up my 4 18-inch subwoofers. And as you can see here, my system, or my room, also has the Vicoustics acoustical panels for acoustic treatment. We have up here in the back, we have a little bit of the bass traps and a few of the different wave form and the flexi wave. And then some of this is half absorption, half diffusion here. And then also the cinema rounds. And then I have some of the, I call them the Tetris acoustical panels in the ceiling. So they incorporate all around the room and help with that absorption and reflection and refraction to kind of dissipate all of the noise that can happen in this room to keep it very clean. So like I talked about the slipper socks that I offer to people downstairs if it happens to be a colder month, I also have in the back here just simple things like this, just having blankets ready for people. Of course, you go with black, don't go with a light color for a blanket they're gonna snuggle up with. So I just have a bunch of blankets that are ready for the family or guests that I might have over, because some people like to snuggle up with a blanket. So just little niceties that I want people to enjoy. And I'll show you some other things, just like having charging cables ready for anyone that needs to charge their phone during a movie. I have charging cables underneath my couch and also ready for them in the Valencia seats as well. Just little niceties, kind of like when you get in an Uber and they have your mints ready or they have your water ready. It's just a thing to make it more of a luxurious experience when I do host an event. So as we make it more into the room, my second row and my first row, I wanted something that was cozy for family and friends here, but then also for the more hardcore enthusiasts that want the theater seat experience. So here we have the Valencia Ultimate Luxury Tuscany seats, and there's obviously a row of 4 of those. And here was a custom made couch that I found. Once I had the Valencia seats, I knew the width of 4 of those, so I custom made a couch with the same width up here for the second. And actually there's a hide-a-bed in here. There's that sofa I was talking about that could fold out if I did have a long-term guest. But then again, then it takes away from my theater. So I actually haven't had anyone stay here, but it is available if anyone wants that. And this is a very deep couch. You know, you can take that pillow off and you're almost laying down in that seat. So I went really deep with the second row because you can really have a cozy experience there. And then the MLPs being the 2 center seats here for the ultimate experience, because everything was tuned specifically for those 2 seats. But with my system, obviously there's not really a bad seat in the house. As we make it around here, obviously with my 9-point setup, you do have the side surrounds here. They're mostly made for the front row, but like I said, even the second row gets a great experience with those. And the front wides, which are down there in front of the theater seats. The lighting itself, this was an A-frame, and we dropped the ceiling a little bit to come closer to a rectangular shape. But with an A-frame, you can't really do that too much. We shortened up, we narrowed the sides of the room, so my side walls were tall enough to fit in my side surrounds, and then we dropped the ceiling down so I had enough surface area on the ceiling to put in my Atmos speakers up there. But now we're at 12 feet high and it's still 17 feet wide, and then I'm 25 feet deep. So that's still a wonderful dimensions to have a great 3-row room. The lighting, my inspiration for this room was just online. I saw some other A-frame setups. We're above a garage here, so having that A-frame gave some ideas when I just looked online, and I saw some that were kind of like this spaceship corridor type thing with this lighting. So we have three panels here that have the Philips Hue lighting in it, and of course this can change. This is an RGB setup, so I can, any color of the rainbow, I can change that or manipulate it, and it's very easy to change it around depending on the theme or who's coming over, or just changing it around. You know, if I want to go like a red Sith Star Wars theme, or if I want to go with Luke's green lightsaber, or depending on who's coming over and that effect that I want to, mood that I want to put in the room. So that's my lighting setup for the LED strips. So with the can lights, I found a company. It's called DMF, David, Mary, Frank, DMF Lighting. And usually when you have can lights that dim down really low, once they get really low, they can start flickering. And this is actually rated down, if you have an authorized installer, down to 1%, and it will dim down to, can go down as low as 1% and fade up really all the way to 100%. And to be able to have those incremental changes, I really liked that feature that many can lights do not have. So this is DMF lighting for my cans. I actually have it in 4 rows, sorry. I have the can lights in 4 rows. And what I did with the automation, what I asked the company to do is, as my system comes on and as it shuts off, it actually ramps up and down. Instead of turning on all at once, it fades in and out. Again, I love Star Wars, and it's almost like a lightsaber, so it fades on and it fades off, kind of like Darth Vader's lightsaber lighting up. So it's just a cool effect that you can do when you have that automation ability to just time the lights to kind of shut off in different sections. And because they're each on their own zone, is to be able to manipulate them so they don't all come on at once and shut off at once. So just a neat little effect that we were able to do with the automated system. So as we come to the front here, again, my wides, again, all the same. So as it goes, the sounds pan around the room. They're all the same. This is the Focal in-wall 1000s with an adjustable tweeter, still that beryllium tweeter. So same tone, same that you're going to get throughout the room. And then as we come to the front here, this is kind of what decided everything else in the room. And these are the Focal left and right, the Focal Sopras with the beryllium tweeter. And these are great audiophile. When I first bought these, I didn't know they were going to end up becoming my home theater speakers. But once I had them, I love them. I love that they look like stormtroopers with their white and the black. So I can't get away from it. I am a Star Wars nut, and you've probably realized that by now. But they're very reflective. So I will show you what I do, because you don't want this beautiful piano white glossy hitting the screen. So I'll show you what I do for that. Talking about the screen, this is a 16:9. It is a Stewart 130 StudioTek G4, and it's a 16:9 150-inch screen, and it's surrounded. Obviously, you have the frame of the screen is in velvet, and I went with a Fidelio velvet in that blends the end of that frame. It's identically the same thing. So I know there's triple black velvet. A lot of people use that triple black velvet that you can find from Joann or Hobby Lobby. And this Fidelio black is a lot of times what people will use for the frame of the screens. It's a very dark black that's non-reflective. And behind that, behind the velvet, I do have the Owens Corning 702 that again helps to dampen any noise from reflecting into that. And then I have that in the ceiling, in the front wall, and also about 4 feet up to here is dark velvet. So it just takes away, it makes this front a black hole, except for these white babies right here. Again, I'll show you what I do with that. But so up to here, it has sound dampening in the walls, and then I start the paint here to add, so it's not a totally black room. You're gonna have some reflectivity in this Patriot blue, I think it's Sherwin-Williams, and then this goes into what a lot of people use, and this is a black satin, I didn't go flat, tricorn, the Sherwin-Williams tricorn black for here, and I do have flat tricorn black for the ceiling, because as soon as, flat's great, but as soon as you touch it, it gets powdery and it is a mess. It's great to touch up with, but hard after you touch it, so it's not very forgiving. So I did go with a little bit of a sheen to the sidewalls. So for the center speaker, this is the LCR, again, 1000 series. This is the LCR in-wall Focal 1000. And this has an adjustable tweeter because since this was designed as a left, right, and center, it can actually go vertical if it's going to go behind the screen. This is not an acoustically transparent screen. You can actually turn the tweeter to be positioned vertical. But since I was going under the screen, you can twist it, the beryllium tweeter, sideways and orient it for horizontal. One thing I'm thinking about doing is upgrading. Careful if my wife ever watches this video. The first thing I might want to do, because these SoCal Sopras are so amazing and powerful, is if I was going to do any upgrades, it would be to replace my, well, it's an amazing speaker, but the LCR 1000 with a Focal Utopia on-wall. So I would take this out, and you can actually attach the Utopia version, the Utopia 1000 Focal, and make it an on-wall in front of that, so I wouldn't have to actually go into the wall to replace it, because it is a much bigger, but it's much beefier, and would match the Sopra towers a little bit better. Again, it's still the beryllium tweeter, but it's a little bit beefier because it's bigger drivers. So again, here you can see the back two are a little bit tighter. It's kind of hard to see. These are my favorites. These are the RTJ 18-inch subwoofers. And again, there's 4 of those. They are sitting on an isolated pad. I haven't played with it by taking it off and see if it's made a difference by not having that isolation pad. I put them on, haven't had to take them off, and there's no complaints. Being on a second level, so the floor is essentially hollow. Being on the second level, you get a lot of vibration, reverberation into the room. So I don't know if the isolation pads help at all, but I like the effect of being on a second level does once these 4 subwoofers are firing hard. It's great. So I don't have any transducers or butt kickers in my seats, but people swear they're in there, and that is enhanced by being on a second level. That again, being that it's a detached building and I'm on a second level, I'm spoiled in some of the things I don't have in the room that feels like I have actuators in my seats for the most part. So I love my subwoofers. They make this room, the immersiveness that this adds is just wonderful. I don't know if I'll upgrade to more subs because these feel great. I don't have a lot more room, but I think I could go 2 more and make it work, but we'll see. Right now, the 4 subwoofers are doing their job very well. So a lot of times when I have a home theater enthusiast come over and I'm showing my room for the first time, I will take these off because it's such a striking focal point of this room to have these beautiful stormtrooper looking towers, but they're very reflective. So they'll go, how do you deal with the reflection off of that in the screen? Because I found a company on eBay that makes velvet cover, custom-made velvet cover slip covers to when you're storing your speakers. So what I said, what about if I just cut some holes into the dust cover and slip them over, and that I don't have to bug my wife to actually sew custom-made covers herself, and I keep her happy with me. So I was able to do that, and they just slip over pretty easily. And again, these are made of velvet, so they're almost identical to my whole front soundstage, my whole front wall. And they actually, because these SoCal Sopras are ported in the back, I cut an opening in the back, anywhere that there is an opening there. So now look how it reduces that. And then, of course, once I add the speaker grills that have a magnetic closure to them, look at that. Look how that blends it away. Pretty easy to get on, and this has worked for me very well. And now I have velvet covers on. No light is washing out that screen, and it has worked very well for me. And 9.9 times out of 10, this is how they live, with the speaker, with the velvet covers on them. And then every once in a while, when I'm hosting someone for the first time, I want them to see my beautiful Sopras. So I'll take them off and I'll put these on before the movie starts. Okay, so here's my tech closet. My rack is actually under the theater, so that helps that it's not adding any heat to the room, any temperature change, and also any of the sound of the fans and all of the different gizmos in here that can add to the sound level. So I was fortunate enough to have a situation where I can just pipe everything up during the construction phase through some Smurf tubing, and everything is down here except, of course, for my Blu-ray player that I keep in a closet at the back of the room. So I'll just go from the top down. For video, we have a video processor, and this is the MadVR Envy Pro. And then next down is a piece of equipment that I can't live without. This is, I would trade a lot of things, maybe even one of my subwoofers, before I got rid of this. And this is my Kaleidescape system, because I'm lazy. I don't want to change discs all the time, and this is convenient, and it keeps the wife happy because I don't have to have a whole wall of Blu-ray discs, but I didn't want to sacrifice physical media and the quality that that provides, and Kaleidescape is the easiest way to do it because I don't have time to learn Plex and ripping stuff. So I love my Kaleidescape. And then we have, of course, just some of the networking and servers. And here is the amplifier that powers my 4 subwoofers, the RTJ subwoofer. And then, of course, the brains of the whole system, the father, the granddaddy, the mother of it all. This is my Trinnov, and it's an altitude 16 powering my my whole speaker system, and or processing all of my audio. And then powering all of my audio, I do have all audio control. So I have an Avalon, and this is a 5-channel, and I have my 2 Sopras bi-amped because they're powerful Mamba Jambas. And so the Avalon powers my 2 front Sopra towers. And then I have 2 Savoy 7 channels powering everything else besides my subwoofers. And then, of course, a power conditioner, surge protector at the bottom of my rack. And then, of course, I do have some fans in between here. I think I have 3 rows of fans keeping everything nice and cool because I'm in Texas, and we have a little bit of cold winters, and we definitely have some hot, humid months, and I am in a semi-conditioned back of a garage where this is. So it doesn't have excellent HVAC. So what I did do is I put in a mini split, and I did that about the middle of this summer because this is the first year that I've had my system. And so I actually have a mini split in this small room that takes care of the heat and the cold, and it's right there. So everything is dedicated to keep this thing happy and it doesn't yell at me that it's too hot or too cold. So having that little mini split right there has changed my anxiety level of having this in a garage in Texas. So I like RGB lighting. So what I have in here is a strip lighting that's in the handrail. And again, this just puts people in the right mood when they come over. And I have my blackout curtains covering the windows. And so this just leads them up there and kind of sets the mood. And of course, I can change this to green or red or whatever color I'm going for that evening. But it just helps introduce them to, like, this is going to be an experience. And it just kind of gets them ready for the whole night of activities. God bless awesome. George Lucas.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Everything is Bigger in Texas home theater tour. I'm in Dallas, Texas, and I'm in an incredible, just absolutely amazing home theater that has Focal, Trinnov, and a bunch of other stuff that I'm going to let the homeowner, John, tell you about. John?
Thank you.
Man, thank you for letting us into your I'm going to say private home theater because it's detached from the house. And this is amazing, man. We watched some demos and you've got it tuned perfectly.
Well, I have Dream Media to thank for that, and my Trinnov. So throughout this whole process, I mean, Dream Media is the one that I hired. They're a local Texas DFW area company, but they deal throughout the United States. And actually, I found them even though they were local. I found them on YouTube, and I worked directly with Kellen and with Zach, and they took my education level. Like, it was a big learning curve for me. And as they were suggesting different components, I was learning too, and they were teaching me, and I was just using YouTube, as we all do, and they helped me really refine this room. And Kellen came out and did the calibration with the Trinnov, and yeah, I mean, when you're dealing with a company like Dream Media and then adding components like a Trinnov, it's hard to go wrong. You know, and everything, it's just a great experience. I love sharing it. Anytime someone wants to come over, when Rusty said, hey, Jordan like to come over, I was like, let's do it. Let's make it happen. Because I love sharing it. I love hosting people. It's just a fun experience, especially when someone hasn't been here before and it's their first time. Whether it's, you know, my kids' friends will come over here. So whether it's a 10-year-old or an adult, their first time is like, wow. And I love doing that. It's just a fun experience because I do that every single time. Right. For me, it's like a first time always in this room. This is my fourth child. I have three human children, and I just love what I've had. I've had this for 1 year, and we use it all the time as a family. And yeah, it's just with the setup that I have, it just nails what I was hoping it would be.
Oh yeah. I mean, you definitely got your money's worth and then some, because I mean, this is a huge room, and I'll let you tell the audience what the size is, but this is a huge room, but with the Trinnov processing, the Focal speakers, the acoustic treatments, it sounds even more expansive, even more big, but just absolutely detailed, clear. I mean, the bass, you've got 4 subs in here and it pressurizes the room. It's an incredible experience in here.
Thank you. Yeah, so the room is it's 14 by 25 by 12 feet high. Actually, it's 17, sorry. So the room is 17 by 25 by 12 high. And it was an A-frame that we kind of changed and dropped the ceiling down a little bit to try to get that rectangle. And there's still some angled parts of the wall that head up to that A-frame that doesn't exist, or to the A-frame that goes up to a point, and we brought the ceiling down. So the angle, I was kind of nervous about, and when people come over for the first time, it's like, how does this, acoustically, how does that angle affect things? But with the Vicoustic treatments on the wall, you can't really tell. Like it doesn't do anything negative to it because it's treated right. And I think so many people don't take advantage of acoustic treatments.
No, they don't.
They would rather spend 3 times as much for that center channel and their speakers. I'm like, hold on, that's great. If you want to do that, great. But do me a favor, let's put some acoustic panels on the wall. Let's do some treatments and then see how muddy your system is, and let's go from there. And people don't realize it because it's not as sexy as getting the new electronics.
Right.
I want to put sponges on my wall. Trust me, you need some. And I wish more people would do that ahead of time before they do any of their calibrations and buy expensive equipment.
Yeah, and in some cases, some experts may tell you to build a room, get the acoustic treatment first, and then see what speakers you want. Go demo some speakers. So yeah, acoustic treatment is it's so important, and it makes such a big difference. But don't just take my word for it. Rusty, what did you think about this setup? Because you've been here before, right?
Yeah, this is my second time here, and it's fantastic. I mean, what's not to love?
Thank you.
Some of the highlights for me, that I guess compared to like my own room, is the in-wall speakers. Like, I know that they don't always get the most love, but they sound fantastic. I don't feel like there's nothing missing from these. The surround, it's so immersive. It's the highs are so crisp. I was telling y'all earlier, like those glass breaking sounds are just so detailed and crisp. The space itself, like, John and his wife put a lot of attention to detail into designing the color palette and the mood and the effects. So it's a very comfortable and like homey space, and the proportions of the room, just like, well, John and Dream Media and his wife together.
It's a good combo.
Yeah, y'all killed it. It's
Thank you.
I enjoy hanging out here.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about this experience, how this room came to be, because I know we were talking before, and you've mentioned, and I know you mentioned this previously in other videos, that before this you had kind of a base of home theater, but you didn't really know as much. So why don't you talk about that? Maybe talk about the community, here in DFW.
Yeah. So I've always loved movies. I'm a movie buff. Like when, even when we just had a condo and we were almost newlyweds, maybe just out of the newlywed phase. And we had a condo, small room, just one living room and a couple bedrooms. And that was really it. And I had like a business projector. I had the in focus, an in focus projector. So, but that's all I could afford. And it could do video. It was fine. And that was back, I don't know, it was probably a 480p. I don't even, maybe 720. I don't know. Like it was so long ago. But that's all I had. And I actually had it on a tension rod behind my couch, so I didn't have to put holes in the ceiling or anything. And it would just sit up there, and I would just drag the wires over and plug it in when I was ready to watch a movie. And it was a pull down screen, and it was just a 5.1 JBL with a 10-inch subwoofer, and it was fine. And it was great, because if that's all you have and that's all the room you have, and a limited budget, that's what I used, and it was great. And it was still I don't know the size of the screen. Maybe it was like a a 90-inch screen,
Okay.
let's just say. And that was way, way, way before you could get a 90-inch TV or anything. But it was bigger than anyone else had. Like, it was still fun to watch movies on that.
And still immersive. I mean, 90 inch,
Absolutely.
that's huge.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's big. Yeah, way bigger than you could get for a TV, especially for that type of price. So I had an in focus there. And then when we moved to our first house, I upgraded to a.
And what year was this?
And so when I moved into the house, it was around 2009.
Okay.
So I moved into our first house, and it had a loft type situation, and we darkened the loft. We colored it like a dark satin brown color, and I bought a BenQ, and again, it was a 1080p. So it was a BenQ 1080p, maybe a few $1,000s, and that was huge type of money to spend for that. And then I had just a wall of DVDs and Blu-rays. Was Blu-ray out yet? Wait,
2009,
yeah,
I think that was right
maybe.
when it was getting started.
Yeah, I had some Blu-rays and a lot of DVDs. And then my wife saw my psychosis because I was organizing all my DVDs and Blu-rays by director, not even genre. Like, I have my Cameron section, my Spielberg section,
Okay.
all the directors. And she was like, "What are you doing?" Like, she just couldn't wrap her mind around that. I'm like, because, I want to know where all my Scorsese movies are. And that threw her for a loop. But so again, I love movies, and that was kind of my mentality of how I thought about movies and directors and what they want out of them. So I always loved movies. Part of my college experience was in film and television production. I spent some time as an intern at Fox Studios in Southern California, and that was great. And I mean, I'm on the lot with, seeing some of the sound stages that are decorated on the outside with Star Wars and The Simpsons and all of that. So just being a little microscopic part of the history of all that was a lot of fun. And then I'd walk across the plaza to the Fox offices. The Fox offices, the high-rise office, they used for the outside of Nakatomi Plaza.
Oh, wow.
Does that ring a bell?
It does a little bit.
Die Hard, Nakatomi Plaza. Yeah. So
I was
was
trying to figure out where that was from, but yeah.
so yeah. So I would have to go over there and I was a gopher. I would just deliver paperwork on the outside. Like, oh my goodness, this is what they use for Nakatomi Plaza in Die Hard movies. But it was just the Fox building, the corporate offices. I always get a kick out of that. So anyway, I loved movies. So I had a few little systems, and then I moved into my next house, and I didn't have anything because I was just fixing up the house and just dealing with life and fixing up a house in general, and didn't have anything. And so when we moved here to Texas back in 2020, I was looking for a house that had a dedicated, or even a dedicated room, but hopefully a detached room. And we looked at 22 houses, and this one my whole family loved, and I loved, that there was this detached room above a garage that I could make work. So I went pretty much from zero of having nothing to almost what I would call an end game room. And it's hard to have end game because I talked about, I maybe want to upgrade my center speaker, and there's little things I would want to do, but I think I'm only going to get maybe like 10%, like 10% of perceived better than what I already have, because this really is in-game. It has everything anyone could possibly want or need, and I realize that. Right. Now it's just me thinking okay, what could I dial in, because I have the bug, and it's hard to get that out of your system. So tweaking your system it's part of the journey, and I don't think it ever totally dies out, to my wife's chagrin.
All right, so you've got this in-game setup here. It sounds amazing. You said you got friends, family that come over. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the DFW community, maybe how you met, Ryan at M-Wave?
Rusty, yep.
I'm sorry, Rusty.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm there for you. I'm there for you.
I've been spending 3 days with him, so.
Yeah. So how did that start? And I don't know if you realize I was plugging someone without even saying anything. So I am wearing an M-Wave t-shirt. This is Midwest AV Experience. I'm not getting a kickback from Mr. Michael Stevens aka Youth Man. But he started a convention's not the right word,
Right.
but an experience get together 2 years ago in the Kansas City area with Ryan.
Charpentier.
There you go, Charpentier. And well, I know how that started was Ryan being in Kansas City with his group of Kansas City friends had a projector shootout where a bunch of people came over and they invited Michael. Well, they got talking and became friends and say, let's do this all the time. Let's try to have this. Let's bring people in. So that's how it started. So 2 years ago, they had the first M-Wave up in the Kansas City area, and a bunch of us came. And I was up there from the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And I'm like, I wonder if anyone from Dallas is here. So I asked Michael, I'm like, are there any Dallas people here at your event? And he said, yeah, that person over there, his name's Rusty, and that person over there is named Michael. And I was like, hey, guys, I'm from Dallas. You're from Dallas. Let's try to do this theater tours of local friends that get together and look at each other's theater and just have that community that the Kansas City having. Lots of Kansas City people have basements, so that's a great start. That Texas and people like in California, there's a lot of people that just don't have basements, but Kansas does. So that's the foundation, for lack of a better word, that they start with is having the ability to have a lot of dedicated space for a theater. And I said, let's try to do that in the Dallas area. There's got to be people out here with home theaters. That's got to exist. There's just no one. From what I know, just my knowledge in the area, there's not an active group that's really putting themselves out and saying, hey, over here, join my home theater group. And so we started just putting the feelers out in the area. And my theater wasn't even ready 2 years ago. But we just started doing that. Rusty, you were starting to build yours. And I think Michael, out of the original three, if you want to call us the founders of the DFW meetup group, was the only one with a system that was already built. So we went over there and we just started building our own. And then just through Facebook and the AVS forums, we just started being more aware of people in the area, and people we just found people, or they found us, and just linked up. And now we try to get together about once a month. It doesn't always happen.
Approximately, yeah.
Sometimes it happens twice a month. And I don't know, how do you think that's gone so far? Just finding people or them finding us and meeting up?
Yeah, well, same as you. I saw the projector shootout and some other events, and I'm like, man, I'm jealous because I really wish I could see these things side by side and have that kind of community. And M-Wave's great, but that's one time a year.
Right.
Like, I want that at home and more frequently, because it's cool. It's so neat to be able to see other people's stuff and get different experiences and see their take and how they went about things, because this is such, there's so many permutations you can do in a home theater. And so John was a big part of, we got together and hung out at M-Wave. And John said, all right, we gotta stick together. We're gonna do this when we get home.
We can't let the fire die out.
Yeah, so he's been instrumental in keeping the momentum going and keeping people engaged. And now it's started to get a little bit of momentum of its own. I've been intentional myself about trying to get people that maybe aren't even enthusiasts but are curious. Just like friends, coworkers, neighbors that, hey, come hang out, see if this is something you're into. And
right, we don't want to scare people away, right? Because some people are like, I don't have a dedicated room, I don't have a detached room, I don't have multiple thousand. We don't care. Do you enjoy movies?
Yeah.
Do you have a hobby?
Yeah. So we try to make sure that everyone feels comfortable in whatever you have, and if you don't have nothing, come see what we have, and something that you can, start building yourself. You don't have to have a dedicated room, or you don't even have to own a TV. Just come and check out ours and enjoy a movie or watching some demos.
And a recurring theme we've seen is, as we invite more and more people in, they go, I didn't know this existed. I didn't even know that this was a thing, this experience. And so it's really cool to see people's reactions and then to see them get into it too.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Like speaking for myself, I'm the only one of my friends, or of everyone that I know personally. I don't know anyone else that has a home theater. So, when friends come over or new friends come over, they're just in awe. Like, this is amazing. Like, I didn't know that this is possible in someone's home. And yeah, there may not be as many people in home theater as, watches and car groups and stuff like that, but there are people out there that appreciate this stuff. And yeah, we're all at different levels. We're all at different points in our life and our journey. Some people might have a 5.1, some people might have a 2.1, some people might have a Trinnov, and just, be able to put thousands, sometimes even millions of dollars into their home theater. But you don't have to say, well, I don't have those things, so it's not possible for me, or I'm not going to be able to achieve that.
I had a Yamaha. And I didn't just have a Yamaha. I had a Yamaha receiver in the beginning with my 5.1.
Same here.
And I didn't even know what I was doing. Just the little Yamaha Wipeout. Is that what it's called? The little microphone to count. Yeah, the room correct. It was fine. It was great. And I'm telling you, you can spend $100,000 and your system could sound like booty.
Yep.
You have a good 5.1 that's treated well, a little JBL system, and it can sound great. Or make a 5.2. Let me say a 5.2 system. Get some 12-inch, or dare I say two 15-inch subwoofers, and it can insane as long as it's in a regular, like maybe a bedroom or something. Maybe not a huge room. And I'm not saying always forget about Atmos, but like a 5.2 done well, not expensive, but done well, it can blow people away.
Oh yeah. And like you said, you don't have to start with Atmos. Like, even if you start with 2 channels, see if you like it. Okay, I like 2 channel, maybe I'll go into a home theater and I'll get like a 5.1. I mean, I think we all started off with a HTIB home theater in the box.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So, I mean, for me, that was, probably 15, 20 years ago. But we all started somewhere, and nobody, unless you're just a multimillionaire, nobody starts off day one and has this or Rusty's setup or my setup. It just doesn't happen. It's not realistic, especially not in this economy. So don't get discouraged. Start small, save your money. There's a community. I'm sure there's a community in your area, wherever you are, wherever you're watching this from. Go to the Facebook groups. Go to AVS forum and talk to people, because I mean, you guys have a pretty frequent on the AVS forum as well, right?
We try to be. Yeah, we
Rusty's like,
keep semi-active. Yeah, we keep semi-active and check out the group, because I was the thread starter, so I do feel responsible. And I don't know how many pages we're up to. There might be like 40.
Like 40 pages.
Yeah, 40 pages. So hey, we're getting there. So there's some, and then that's where we organize our meetups for the next month. So it definitely gets some activity for sure. And one thing that, this hobby is way more attainable than it was back in the 80s and 90s, where stuff was just so expensive. And I love going back every once in a while. I will revisit a video you can find on YouTube with Roger Ebert. So Siskel and Ebert, they were they're movie critics. For those that have no idea who it is, they're probably the most famous to this day at the movies. Thumbs up, thumbs down. I mean, that was them. Yep. And Roger Ebert, have you seen that video where it shows? So you're talking about this movie, world acclaimed movie critic back in the 80s. I mean, he existed before the 80s, but he did an exclusive where he took people into his home theater.
Oh, wow.
And this guy, he was making a decent living. I don't know what he was making, but this is the guy. And it was this TV, I don't know if it was a projection screen type TV, but, it was a 4:3 ratio. Like, that's all that existed. And it was expensive, unless you had like a projector, and you had a film projector. Who had those? But it was down in his basement, and it was just basic, because that's all that existed until you went into some, like, you would have to have connections to movie studios, or if you had your own yacht, if you had that type of money, there were systems out there. But even Laserdisc, I mean, that Laserdisc wasn't, You know, that wasn't high quality resolution, but for the day, that was all you could get for the normal consumer. So it's just funny to see someone at his level, and he just had a TV, and it was probably just a VCR. I mean, I don't even know. I have to go back and watch that video again, but I just get a kick out of seeing someone at his level. There was a movie critic, and that's all they had. Now where there's so much available to all of us,
I'm so
it can be
thankful to live in this.
it can be overwhelming.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. And that's what, me and Rusty were talking about too, that, he's working on something that we'll probably make another video talking about, but it can be overwhelming for people who don't know where to start.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have some people online that may give inaccurate information or may say that you're supposed to do this, you need to buy this. And it's like, well, that may not work for everybody. So, do your own research, consult with other people in the groups, but see what you like, because what you like may not be the same, as everyone else. So
Agreed.
What would you, if you would, is there anything that you would do different if you could do different, or if you had to start over on a new theater one day, or is there anything that you would like to improve on your current setup?
Man, you're gonna put me on the spot. What would I do differently?
There's not much, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think I would have what I have if it wasn't for Dream Media putting me on my right path. So because they helped guide me and kind of held my hand through it. So I like how they helped me. So I would have hired the same company again. Okay. Man, they helped me not make the mistakes. So I think because I had the ability to hire a company that's done it tons of times, that kept me from making a lot of mistakes. If you can only afford to do DIY, you're probably going to make some mistakes, but that's part of learning. So I don't even discourage that, but I would have made a lot of mistakes on my own. I mean, I don't know if you made mistakes, but you did a lot of DIY, and that scared me. Like you're braver than I am. It's just, I didn't want to make a lot of mistakes, costly mistakes.
Because then you have to go back and fix it and spend more money. So
yeah. So, I mean, if I was to say, no, I didn't really do anything wrong, it's only because I had someone to hold my hand along the way who's done it before. So yeah, there's definitely some upgrades I want to make, but I can't think of anything really that I'm like, shoot, and I had to backtrack and do something else. I mean, I like the Vicoustic panels. No, I wouldn't even change that. I was just thinking, like, would I hide everything behind acoustic transparent screen? But no, I like what it does. I like seeing my speakers. I like seeing the acoustic treatments. So where I like the cleanness that I see in some rooms, I wouldn't even do that differently. I like having it exposed. So it was done well, and I like having the help along the way with the company I chose. So
great. So I guess last question would be what is your favorite part? Either maybe a certain speaker or maybe experience about having this theater.
Okay, so initially I thought I was more visual, and I wanted, the best projector that my budget could handle. So I ended up with the JVC 3100, which is the NZ8.
Okay.
And even though there was an NZ9, a little bit higher contrast and brightness, depending on where I was going to put it in the room. I knew the NZ8 would do the job well, and that was more of my focus. And then once the system got dialed in, I realized how much I appreciate the audio and how much I never made that part of the experience, even at a commercial theater, is how much audio is. So I'm probably 50-50, but maybe even 40-60 heavy on the audio side. Like, I love bass. I love the immersiveness of something like, a 9-point setup can give you, Atmos or not, but just like, it would be hard to ever give up the speakers. And I'm realizing how much I love audio, and I love the audio mix, and how much more now I appreciate a good audio mix. When someone takes time to dial in a good Atmos mix and when they don't.
Yes.
When they don't do it, like, shame on you. You are a new movie. You know, if you go back to an old movie, I can give you some grace. But a new movie that, you know, they didn't, maybe it wasn't in their budget to have a good audio engineer to do it right, or they just didn't care enough about the end consumers. But an audio mix can be done so well that I really appreciate audio more than I thought I would. But yeah, I would say, and out of my specific system, I would probably give up a subwoofer before I gave up my Kaleidescape. I really love what Kaleidescape offers. It's so user-friendly, it's so gorgeous, it's so easy to use, and to have the near lossless quality, to have the uncompressed audio and video of just like physical media, maybe better in some cases, because you're not limited to what a disc can hold, right? So I love my Kaleidescape. I love my subwoofers, but if one had to go, not all my subwoofers. I'm not crazy, but yeah, I could give up something more. Like if I had to go back, you know, to an apartment and to just a small TV, I would still want my Kaleidescape. I love it. Yeah.
Well, John, you got an amazing theater. Again, thank you for letting us, come in here and experience this. I wish everybody could have a chance to experience this. We watched some incredible demos. Everything is fine-tuned. The bass is just amazing. It's tight. The speakers. So this is my first time hearing focal speakers in a home theater setup. I've always heard them in a 2-channel, and so I was curious how it would sound. And it's those beryllium tweeters are.
They do the job. Yeah.
And then Rusty, I appreciate you, putting this together.
Certainly.
Helping me putting this together and come down here to
Thank you.
To share with YouTube and get some different viewpoints on different theaters.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is on a different journey. Everybody has a different budget. Everyone has, room constraints. We all have to make sacrifices somewhere. So don't see videos like this and think like, oh, well, this person is rich. This person has the means to do everything. We all have to make sacrifices somehow, but we want to show you that it's possible. And if you're patient, because a lot of this stuff, it took us years to get to where we're at. So,
and I encourage, some of your listeners, if they can get to M-Wave, so it's year 3 coming up.
Yes.
That's a perfect environment to talk to people that are just starting out on their journey. Some people that have ridiculous home theaters, or just budget-friendly theater living room setups. It's a great place to meet, and Youth Man Michael Stevens has really created that environment of everyone's at a different place and everyone accepts everyone else as far as where they are in that home theater setup. But it's a great way to test some things there at his event and experience some things. So again, shameless plug for them. That's a great way that you don't really get that anywhere else at any of the big, there's CEDIA and there's big events in Las Vegas and throughout the United States, but they're almost too big and they're kind of meant for integrators.
Yeah.
But
they're not doing demos. They're not doing.
It's a little too intimidating. Right. And this is a small event, even though it's growing. But
small community, and you get to actually. Oh, I want to hear what this speaker sounds like versus this speaker. You don't get that at CEDIA. That they don't want to do that at CEDIA.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of hard
like that. So yeah, I'll be there. I believe John is going to be there.
I'm there. I got my tickets.
I'll be there.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll all be there.
And that'll be that's number 3, right? We're at year 3. Yeah.
So they're expecting it to be. I don't know how many he's expecting to have there, but they're expecting it to be even bigger. And then you've got those VIP experiences where you can actually go and see some of those theaters in person for yourself. So thank you guys for watching. Let us know down in the comments what you think about John's theater. It's amazing. And hopefully we'll see some of you guys at M-Wave next year at 2023. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you in the next video.